right, let's go. We got another great podcast today. We have a great guest on, Coach Matsakis, Coach Louie Matsakis. Our second Matsakis, I think, that we've had on, right?
Yep.
So
the youngest.
It's the youngest. Okay. And we're going to talk about Caldwell College sprint football, the fastest game on turf.
Literally.
So where the linemen, I forget we'll ask Coach what the weight limits are for everything like that, and so you can understand it. But yeah, it's coaches come from. I mean, he's been at Division I for a long time, and coming to Caldwell. I mean, Kentucky is one of the places he was at, University of Kentucky, but he's been coaching for a long time. Had a lot of success, and coming to Caldwell College to really build up that sprint football program, which is a unique perspective in the football coaching space. So
Yeah.
Without further ado, let's bring on Coach Matsakis. What's going on, Coach?
Not much. How you guys doing?
Coach, welcome, buddy. Appreciate you coming on.
Excited to have you on, Coach. If you can give the breadth of your coaching experience and your journey, that'd be a great place for us to start.
All right. Well, it's been kind of all over. Started first ever job, GA, Texas Tech University. I was part of Coach Leech's first 3 years on staff. Lucky enough to have my eldest brother, Manny, was our assistant head coach. So he kind of got me in with that and helped out with some special teams. And then just helped Leech run the program, not really run the program, but he needed something done. Hey, I'd go do it. Need a PowerPoint for the president. Let me go make it. Here, let's go. Sit in meetings with him, help him through that. Transitioned from there to Texas State when actually Manny was the head coach. Spent 1 season there. Then my brother George was at the University of Kansas. He called because the summer before I had flown up to hang out in Lawrence and kind of worked with their kicker a little bit. And he had a great year. And so Coach Mangino was like, I need to hire your brother somehow. So I left Texas State, went to Kansas. I like to say I was the first ever quality control analyst because they didn't have that back in 2004. But that's kind of really what I was. My official title was assistant video coordinator, but I did 0 video. It was all special teams, work with the kickers, that kind of stuff. Left there after 2 seasons, got a little taste of D3 ball. So I was at Capital University for 9 months in Columbus. It was an awesome experience. When I think we're 11-2, both losses were to Mountain Union. It was great going through the playoffs at the D3 level. Just learned a lot, and then got lucky enough. Coach Mangino called me after 9 months, and my running backs coach is retiring. I want to hire you to be running back special teams coordinator. Well, got to go back. Was there for some great years at Kansas, 07, 08, Orange Bowl, Insight Bowl victories, 20 wins in 2 years. I don't think it's ever been done at Kansas. So that was pretty awesome. Then when the transition happened after the 09 season, good friend of mine got the head coaching job at Youngstown State, Eric Wofford. So went there, running backs, special teams, recruiting coordinator, kind of really worked that angle. Then again, out of the blue, Charlie Weiss calls, heard some great things, want to bring you back to Kansas. So I went back to Kansas again. They couldn't get rid of me. I was like a cockroach or something. You know what I mean? I kept going back. So they went back to Kansas.
Never worked.
Was there at Kansas, director of player personnel, helped out, again, that whole analyst type role that didn't exist back then. Helped out behind the scenes with some special teams, a lot of recruiting. And then, his transition happened, stayed on 1 more season when David Beatty kind of took over to help through that. Got to be the chief of staff, which was awesome. That really helped me a lot to become a head coach.
I bet.
Then get the call from Mark Stoops. Hey, we're a little late to the game in the SEC, but I get to have 3 analysts on staff. I want you to come be my special teams analyst. Went there, it's SEC ball. I can't turn that down.
Right.
So went there, spent 7 great years, 7 bowl games, 4 victories, 4 bowl wins. It's freaking awesome. And then, now here, Caldwell University, try to be a head coach.
That's an incredible journey. I mean, the success he has is unbelievable. I guess the first question that comes to mind is like, what would want to make you, leave D1 ball, come to Caldwell College and take over a program in a type of football that's different probably than you've ever coached before.
Yeah, I always go back to when I was at Texas Tech. I remember having a conversation with Mike Leech, and he's made the comment to me. He's like, if you could ever get a head coaching job, no matter the level, take it. It is extremely hard. And he gave me his life experience of he was the offensive coordinator at Kentucky.
Yep.
He applied to be the head coach at Key West High School.
Of course he
Could
did.
not get an interview.
Wow.
2 years later, he's the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma. The next year, he's the head coach at Texas Tech. So he's like, it's hard to at any level because you don't know connections. You don't know who's in with the president, the AD, the boosters. Like, it's extremely hard even to get a middle school job. It doesn't matter the level. They're so hard. And when it came up, it really Caldwell University checked off a lot of boxes for me when I was like, I want to be a head coach. What type of school do I want to be at? One where you have support from the AD and the president. That's huge. You can't have success if you don't. Check those boxes off during the interview process. Where do you have a great recruiting base that you could get 90% of your roster within an hour and a half, 2-hour drive? Well, that's North Jersey. I mean, within 2 hours, there's more schools than probably the entire state of Kentucky.
Right.
So, there it checked off all those boxes. And to me, the level didn't matter because I've seen guys go, look at Lance Leipold at Kansas, D3 Whitewater.
Right.
Boom, wins national titles, goes to Buffalo in the MAC. Now he's at Kansas. People do it. It takes time. You got to stay the course, but it's possible. And to me, I didn't care the level. I didn't care if it was D2, D3, NAIA. I just wanted to make sure it was the right fit. And then I had the resources to be successful because I don't want to be a head coach and then in 3 years don't win. And then you're like, I want to make sure we have things in place to have success on the field.
That's an interesting. I'll tell you the thing that's so interesting about it is you're 100% right about the head coaching position. It's everybody wants to be a head coach, and you're right about that. You don't know, like you could apply, you could know somebody in the process, but you don't know who's already in. You don't know who's already the leader in it. You could
right. That job might be filled before you even put your you know what I mean? Before you put the application in.
And that's the thing people don't understand. Like I got buddies that coach high school football in Ohio. They're like, hey, I want to get in college. How do I do it? I'm like, you got to know somebody.
Right.
100%.
When you see a job posted at the collegiate level, 9 times out of 10, they've already had phone interviews. They know their top 5. They're just doing due diligence. We got to post it for X amount of days. We got to interview so many people, but they already know who the top 3 are before it ever hits.
Absolutely.
And that's 100% the thing that people do not realize.
They have no clue.
They have no idea. I mean, and the same thing goes for high school. Like, very rarely does a job posting is an actual posting. You know, it's maybe I guess in high school assistant coaches might be, but head coach very rarely is a head coach. They don't already have a good idea of who they're talking to, and who they're most interested in. I'm curious about Caldwell. So this is definitely a space that I don't know that much about. Sprint football. As long as I've been in the game of football, sprint football is not something that I know a lot about. I actually know a guy who played at West Point sprint football. You know, but as far as what actually goes on, what are some of the rules of it? The one thing that I do know is that obviously that you can't be over a certain weight, and the lineman, right, can't be over a certain weight, and that's what makes it go so fast, because you're pulling guards, or basically could be guys running 4.6s or something, and so talk about kind of what sprint football is, and if you can, best explain it so everyone can understand.
Yeah, I mean, and like I tell people all the time, like sprint football, there's zero difference in terms of X's and O's and game management, game rules. It's football as everyone knows it, college football. The biggest difference and the easiest way to equate it, it's like combining wrestling with football. So there's a weight these kids have to maintain during the week and then again on game day. So in our conference, because there's two main conferences, you have the CSFL, which is the one that started this back pre-World War II, like 1934, 36, something like that. That's where it originated. Now there's a league out in the Midwest that had just started maybe in the last like 6-7 years. There's another league that starts sprint, and they have a couple different weight rules. But ours is essentially you report for training camp. Anybody who's been on your roster has to be 183 pounds or less. Any freshman is exempt from that. They basically give them training camp to work on weight management.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Then when you get to game week, so we open up in 2 weeks. So September 16th, that Monday will be our first official weigh-in. Literally, it's like wrestling. They walk in, they're in their underwear, they step on a scale, they have to be 178.4 or less. If you're 178.5, you're overweight. So you either got to go run, you got to go do something, come back, weigh again. If not, you can't practice until you're under that weight.
Ooh, wow.
Okay. Then there's a second weigh-in that will certify you to play the game, kind of like when you show up at a wrestling tournament.
Yeah.
So you got to have a certain hydration level, body fat percentage. It's the same 178 weight, and then we'll do virtual weigh-ins. So like our conference commissioner randomly puts, here's your roster in a computer. It spits out 5 jersey numbers. These 5 got to weigh in via Zoom. So the commissioner's there, the team we're playing, their head coach is there. I'm obviously there, and we watch the kid weigh in on the scale. As long as he's under 178, he's good to go. And then the caveat is like, as coaches, we can pick 5 people if you want. So if I'm watching whoever, Army, you mentioned Army. If I'm watching Army playing, I'm like, well, that left tackle does not look like he's 180. Right. He's got to be at least 195 pounds. I might say submit his name and force that kid to get on the scale to see.
So there's a little gamesmanship to it.
There's a little bit of gamesmanship, which I got to kind of figure out that part of it. And then on game day, you could randomly get selected up to 4 to 5 people. And on game day, when you show up at the stadium, you go step on a scale. Now they give you a little grace period because the kids got to hydrate. They got to, just naturally gaining weight.
Pregame meal, right?
Like, so as long as you're under that 190-pound weight on game day, you're clear to go. But if you're 191 and you showed up at the stadium, your pads go in the bus. You don't go you stand on the field. You don't get to play.
All right.
So it's a little bit, like I said, it's that hybrid wrestling, but football, like the weigh-in, the hydration, the body fat percentage.
But when it comes to the actual football, exercise, like this is what we're kicking it off, we're returning, we're running plays, offense, defense, 11 guys on the field. Like it's all the
You're going to watch Texas and Michigan this weekend. You watch us play Chestnut Hill on the 20th. Other than the size of the people, it's going to look the same. We got a 2-minute I almost said warning. That's the NFL. We have a 2-minute timeout in college. It's all the same kickoff rules as college. Now the new clock rules. If you get a first down, the clock doesn't stop till under 2 minutes. Like it's literally the same.
That's so cool. First of all, the weighing thing. So 170. Do you? I'm curious because I definitely I've heard about it and I know some, like I said, some guys that played it. Do these guys like literally really try to cut weight like wrestling? So if you come in and
100%.
How much are you allowed to, like, I know in wrestling in college, there's a certain amount. you're allowed to lose.
You don't have any time limits or any like they can
we just weigh in. If we play on a Friday night, we weigh in Monday, Wednesday. We play Saturday. It's Tuesday, Thursday.
And wow. And so they can come if they weigh 200 pounds and they can get under 178.4, they could play sprint football.
Yeah. I mean, we had a kid in spring ball when I showed up. We get 5 spring practices. Starting Mike linebacker in spring.
Right.
He was 205. I'm like, dude, you are way. There's no shot.
Like, what are you like? What are you gonna
do? I got this. I wrestled in high school.
Coach,
I got all summer. He showed up for the first weigh-in when we had our weigh-ins to get certified to practice. He was 179 pounds.
Killed it.
That's incredible.
But those wrestlers, that's what they do, man. Like they know how to do that. And I'll reference, we've had him on the show, Rashawn Gross, 2-way player for me at Don Bosco, right? I mean, absolute stud. Multiple state championships in wrestling. I'm telling you, when it was football season, my man was 225, 230 pounds. And then at the end of the season, time for wrestling, boom, he would cut and he would be 205, ready to go in a freaking 2-3 week period. And it was like, I'm like, bro, good for you, dude.
Yeah. And that was one of the things for me personally. Like I'm the only one in my family that didn't wrestle.
Yeah. Everybody else did.
I played basketball. I couldn't do, I liked food too much. I didn't want to deal with weight. I liked this. I mean, that was, again, when I was in middle school, it was like the height of Jordan. So like I loved basketball. I played basketball. So when I was putting together my staff, to me, it was important to find 1 or 2 guys that coached high school wrestling.
Yeah.
Because they understand what needs to be done, one, safely, because you want to do it in a safe manner. But importantly, how can you drop 8 to 10 pounds in a week if you need to?
The right
if
way.
You're a pound and a half over. How can you drop a pound and a half in like 6 hours, 4 hours to be able to weigh it? Like all those different things. So to me, and during, as I was building those assistant coaches, that was an important factor, is making sure I had 1, if not 2 guys that either wrestled or coach high school wrestling.
Interesting. That is, it's so fascinating. So then,
so cool.
How does it affect your your coaching process of how you put the pieces on the field, right? The different players, and because my guess is obviously the speed of the lineman is super fast, right? Like
that blew me away. Like again, I coached running backs. So you're sitting there and you're telling a running back, hey, we're running whatever, power. You got to jab step, delay, kind of let the lineman get
there.
And it's like, if we're not fast, we can't get to the lineman because they're so much faster. Like there's none of that. Like, hey, you got to be patient on inside zone and read the double. Like, it's like, go. It's like almost everything's ISO. Like, it's crazy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's weird. And then again, like our left tackle, he throws the javelin on our track team.
That's so interesting.
So, I mean, he's an athletic kid. I mean, we got like dudes all over the field that, like, 2 of my linemen play lacrosse in the spring.
Wow.
Like, it's just a unique, they were like high school fullbacks.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep, they're like H-backs, right? Like they can just they're multi-sport kids from high school that just don't have those measurables to be a one-sport guy.
Like one of the freshmen we signed from Bloomfield High School.
Oh, baby, Coach Carter.
He was a tight end at Bloomfield.
Yeah.
He's going to play a line for us. You know what I mean? Because those are those kids that, again, it's different because you got to find kids that are tough. I mean, O-line play is still O-line play.
Yeah.
You got to be detailed. You got to have right foot placement, right hat placement. You got to be half nuts to play O-line because you're the only position that's bangs every day, every play in that little 6-inch box in front of you. And you got to find those kids, or you got to go Group 1, Group 2 football in Jersey. That's where you're going to find kids that are centers, guards that are around that 180 or less range that actually do play O-line. It's Group 1, Group 2 football in Jersey.
Yep. And they've been
Yeah.
playing it for God knows how many years. They've always been the undersized linemen, right? Oh, you're not going to get any looks at this school or do all this. But like, hey, man, I can still go here and start at a college program and still play football and do very well because of how it's set up. And I've done this, I've always gone against guys. Now he's actually probably going to succeed more because he's going against guys that are
His own
literally
size.
his size finally.
Yeah, I mean, he's not blocking a kid that's 280 pounds
Right.
going to Monmouth playing. He's
Yep.
blocking a kid that's actually his size for once.
Yeah, that's an incredible. I can see that
would
like
be I would think an appeal.
Group 1 and Group 2, you could get so many of those kind of kids because those are kids who, if they were at a bigger school, would have had to play fullback or something like that. But
Yep. They'd have
They-
been out of
like one of our
position, right?
freshmen,
Like
we
they
signed
would
a
have never
freshman,
just, been there.
from Mountain Lakes.
Okay.
And he's one of our D linemen. Like he's coming in freshman. He's playing freaking D end and D tackle, and he's 168 pounds.
Right. And he's
I would
probably,
also
and he's probably got
imagine
3
that-
state championships to his name.
Yeah.
I would also imagine that because everyone's so fast to the ball that you have to try to take advantage of that because everyone's flying to the ball one direction or another because they're so fast.
It is. It's crazy. I mean, it's like, and then you watch games and you like, I think Army, I think Navy, I think triple option, but their sprint teams aren't.
Oh.
Their zone read, their tempo, they're throwing screens. It's like they look like 2 completely different programs. Well, they are, but it's like we're like I always think, okay, we got Army, we got Navy, we got to have a triple option plan, we got to figure. And then you watch them play last year. They're 4 wide, 1 back, running zone read option. Their RPOs, their tempo. I'm like, this looks nothing like
what you would expect from an Army.
And there can't be a ton of time for the quarterback too when in passing because you guys are rushing so fast.
It's so different.
It's so interesting
to me. And the one thing I did notice watching like the league once I got here, like you don't see a lot of screens. And I'm like, I wonder if it's because like the D linemen are just as fast as some of those.
Yeah, they're just so fast.
And there's no like retrace. Like you're used to, hey, get upfield. Okay, we don't got to worry about the little piggies up front because they're rushing. They can't retrace fast enough.
Yeah, no way. These guys literally turn and probably catch the screen. Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy.
That is so cool. It's really, really interesting. It's
probably a good thing that you've been coaching in the SEC then where speed is like pivotal. So, but even that speed compared to, and we're not talking like speed, but overall speed, the speed of the guys that are supposed to not be fast now changes up almost everything that you have to kind of do, right? Because
it does. I mean, it's like when I was in the Big 12. You're coaching punt team. You're like, oh, okay, we can leave this guy unblocked. He's not going to get there fast enough because of our splits and alignment and where we're and then you try to do that in the SEC, and that dude almost blocks the punt.
Right.
And you're like, whoa, okay.
Right.
Time out here. It's a little different. There's a lot faster guys. So let's adjust. Let's adapt. Now, how do we do it now? And how are we going to get this done? And it is different. I mean, in the SEC, you got cats. Look at Kentucky. They got a D lineman that is probably going to go pretty high in the draft, I would assume. He's somewhere between 6'6", 6'8", 350.
Right.
Wow.
Runs under a 5.040.
Right. Wow. Which is like, what are we talking? Like, it's just freaks. Like
he's massive. He's literally the largest human. He's from Detroit. He's the largest human I've ever seen. And he can move. And he's athletic. And I'm just like, whoa. So it's one of those things. And then you got like Kentucky, the returner we had. I think he's a junior by now.
Yep.
Barryon Brown. He won like the under 20 Olympics in the 100. He's like a 4.2 guy. He just can take the top off.
Listen.
Like, that level's a different speed. You come here, and I'm like, and I told Manny, I played D2 ball, played at Emporia State. And I'm like, we're just as fast, if not faster in spots than some D2 schools.
Yeah, he's like, probably drooling thinking about drawing
100 and 200 on the track team, and they're playing corner, they're playing safety, receiver, and there's some speed, and that's what's intriguing is how those games go about calling a game offensively, and trying to just figure out, okay, you got this certain perception, a D lineman is this,
Right.
or an O lineman is this.
Right.
Like, oh, I'm going to be able to get to this guy with this guy, but now it's like, oh, he's going to be gone. Where am I going to, you know what I mean? Your schematics have to be,
Yeah,
you
look
changed
at
or
some
tweaked.
schools and you're like, "Ooh, that center's pretty athletic. He's pretty good."
Right.
You look him up online. He was a tailback in high school.
Right.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
That
And an old
changes
state
things.
wrestler.
He can pull. He can do this. Like, okay, we got to be alert for some of this stuff now. Like, it's just crazy.
That's incredible. I'm curious as far as when like you work for Mike Leach, and some of the things, obviously he was a fantastic coach, and passed away untimely there, but what were some of the things that you really learned? Because you really work for some. I mean, you work
Yeah.
with Leach, you work with Mancino, you work with Stoops, like.
Even Charlie
I'd love
Weiss.
to hear the different takes you had from, that you're bringing with you, obviously going forward from each one of those guys. Starting with Mike Leach.
I mean, Leach, honestly, the thing, and again, that was my first ever experience coaching.
Yeah.
Right.
And you had just come from Emporia,
my
coach?
dad was a coach. Like, it's in the family, but like I go from playing in Emporia to sitting in a staff meeting in Lubbock, Texas. So it was a little different. And the thing I really noticed about him was like his attention to detail on things. Like, they would do screen period. He would be mad at the right guard because he's supposed to have a 2-yard split and it was 18 inches. I'm like, it's only 6 inches. He's like, yeah, but that 6 inches is a difference between him kicking out the corner or the corner making the play for -1. So it was his attention to detail. Also with him, you see it, and it just blew my mind, but he literally is the smartest person I've ever met in my life, like intelligent wise.
We've heard that a bunch.
His call sheet literally was like this.
Index card.
Like, that's all it was. And I'm like, Coach, you don't have a lot of plays. And I watch NFL games, and it's that 11 by 7.
Yeah. You got Mike McCarthy out there with like
some high school
guys.
Yeah. And he's like, Louie, if we can't practice it in a week, why have it? It's like, let's just get really good at what we can do and find formations, motions, shifts, whatever, to get our playmakers the ball in space. That was like the first time I really ever heard that. So to me, that was intriguing with him. And again, and then and I go back, it's just always comical. When I kind of joked with our defensive coordinator, Rob, I'm like, I'm not really like this, but I just want to tell you, like, my first experience in a staff meeting, Leach told Greg McMackin, or DC, he goes, look, you just got to hold them to 1 point less than I score, and we're happy. Like, that was like, I don't care if the score is 45-44 or 13-12. Like, and his just like trust in the defense. Yep. He didn't micromanage. He was the opposite of Bill Snyder. Like, my brother Manny played for Bill. My brother George, or my brother Manny coached for Bill. My brother George played for him.
I mean, Bill practiced celebrations. Bill practiced how to celebrate after a touchdown. Like,
I mean, they would have in training camp, they would have cat days. I would hear the stories, and it was literally a 2.5-hour practice on everything. Yep. This is how the locker room is. Okay, then we go out. This is where we're stretched. This is where halftime. This is where this is. Kickoff. Here's all the situations for kickoff. Literally a grind. We score a touchdown. This is how you celebrate. We hand the ball to the official. We do, like, literally micromanaged every single detail, all 3 sides. And I heard those stories from Manny and Coach Mangino, because he was on their staff, and some guy. And then Leach was like the complete opposite. He's like, I hired you for a reason.
Yep.
Go do it. Do your job. Like, go. I'm not going to worry about you. Just, you know what you got to do defensively. You guys know what we got to do in the kicking game. I know what I got to do on offense. And so that, having that trust in your assistants, and also just the details within his offense, and simplifying, keeping a tight playbook so it's not overly complicated for the quarterback, the receivers, the running backs, tight ends, the linemen. To me, that was eye-opening with him. And he was successful didn't matter the level. Iowa Wesleyan and D3 to Kentucky and the SEC as a coordinator, Oklahoma Texas Tech, Mississippi State, his last stop, Washington State. Like, he's been successful at a lot of places, and you got to find people that are, and how can we copy that? How can you mimic that? Take what they do and bring it to your level. So for Leech, that's what I would say I took out the most of from him.
That's incredible, and it's amazing how guys could be wildly successful with completely different methodologies. That's what I find so fascinating about football. Like, they're some plays may look the same and all this kind of stuff, but like, there's so many different methodologies of going around, and running practice to their philosophy of doing things. And Bill Snyder's successful with these marathon style of approaches to learning, the meticulous approach to learning everything. Leech is wildly successful with a playbook that allows him to have a few plays and the flexibility to tag guys if need be, or move guys around if need be. But it's the same few plays over and over again, just minor adjustments within those plays. It's so amazing how the game of football allows for those different types of opportunities for success. And then obviously, as a coach, you could take pieces of everybody. You could take pieces of everybody, So
I mean, you have Leech, Mangino. I mean, you just look. You're just leaving a guy that's been taking a program in Kentucky that really wasn't much until he got there, and in Mark Stoops, and now like they're talked about every year, and they're always producing like an NFL caliber player. Like, it's just your tree, is you can take a little bit of all of that and now throw it into this school here, and you're good to go.
And I mean, like Mark, I learned a ton at Kentucky. One, the importance of recruiting, because it's the SEC, is a whole other level. Right. I mean, the meetings we had on recruiting, his detailed holding assistant coaches accountable in recruiting, like what he does in recruiting is above and like, it's not, they're not number one, number two in recruit. They don't get all the 5 stars or anything.
Right.
Which makes you have to work even harder.
The right fit.
Right.
What's the right culture, the right fit? How do we develop? How do we take 1-star kids, make them 2 and 3? How do we take 3s and make them 4s and 5s? And then over time, they'll get a 5-star. They'll get a random kid.
Right.
Because of that culture they built. And then the other thing, the biggest thing of all from him that I really learned was the fact that you got to be, as a coach, really as a head coach, you got to be true to yourself.
Yes.
You got to be who you are. He is Youngstown tough. I like to always joke and say it, like, he's Youngstown, Ohio, steel mills, hardworking, blue collar community. That's what Youngstown is. That's what his family is. That's what Bob was, his dad, all his brothers. Like, they are Youngstown tough. Like, that's what it is. And he brought that to Kentucky. He doesn't shy. Like, look at him on game days. Like, he's in the officials. He's yelling at coaches. Like, it's not personal. You can't take anything personal. It's who I am. This is how I coach. This is what I'm going to be. And you look at head coaches that are successful, they're the ones that do who they are. Nick Saban is a certain way. Bill Belichick is a certain way. Lane Kiffin is a certain way. He's completely opposite, but he's a certain way. And they are true to they are.
Greatest Twitter page, by the way, of all.
And then the coaches that struggle, they struggle with their own identity. They try to be.
They try to be getting
Nick
pulled
Saban,
in this direction.
Bill Belichick.
They go, right?
They try, but they're not that kind of person. They try
It's
to
like, what do you take
Kiffin.
a job because I'm going to turn this. It's like, that's not the right fit for you, right? And like you said, which I think is something great, like being true to yourself also comes with putting yourself in those situations that you can allow yourself to be yourself. I'm sure you've had opportunities to go or apply to be a head coach at certain places, and it's like, wow, this is an amazing place, but it's not for me. I can't do what I need to do with myself in order to fit that. Like, I'm not going to fit the mold that they want, even if it's a job that I could probably get, but I'm not going to do that because now I'm going to set myself up for failure because I won't be allowed. I can't do what I need to do or be who I am. I think that's a pivotal part or, why didn't you take this job? Take this job. Like, I need to be in a place where I can be myself and then it'll work, right? Like, that's just one of those boxes that need to be
100%.
checked.
And again, and like for me, that was the hardest thing in the spring. Like my wife asked me after our first ever spring practice, how was it? I was being a head coach.
You're like,
I was like, honestly, it was kind of weird. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I was always waiting for someone to blow the whistle and say the period ends. And I'm like, wait, that's me.
yeah.
Like it was like one of those things. Like, wait, I'm in control of that. That's my job now. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I want to cut this period short. I can do it. I want to extend
Yeah.
it. I can do it. And so it was like weird. I was always waiting. And it's just like, I'm glad we had those 5 practices in spring because it was like, it really helped me figure out, okay, how do I want to structure practices?
Exactly.
Do I want to be like Kentucky where sports science is huge and let's get, no sweat Thursdays, high tempo, short, hour 25, hour 30-minute practice, but everything's full speed? Or do I want those, practices when we did it early at University of Kansas State, where we're on the field for 2.5, 3 hours. You slow, you talk, you're fast during the rep, but there's more downtime. Just it helped me just figure out what am I? What's going to help us succeed, and what kind of coach I want to be and ultimately become.
Right.
Absolutely. It is funny when you become a head coach that you're like,
Dave's done it multiple times.
Because when I've been a head coach 4 times, and it's funny because you're like if you've gone back to being an assistant, which I have done as well a couple of times, right? When you appreciate the beauty on both sides. As head coach, you're completely in charge of what happens, and everyone has to basically understand where you're coming from. It doesn't mean they have to agree with everything, but they have to understand and be on the same page as they go out there on the football field. Mm-hmm. And then when you've been an assistant, you're like, oh, great, I get to defer to the head coach. This problem gets pushed up right up there, right?
Yeah, wait, what? You're worried about that guy? Talk to that guy.
Right, so it's funny being on the side where the assistant's like, oh, it's a problem I can't solve. Go see Coach Matsakis because that's not something I can solve for you. You know what I mean? But it's really a cool thing, I think, in the sense that you get to success ultimately, good or failure, is a large part of the result of things that you come up with and how you lead the team, and ultimately I think that's one of the cool things about it. And then figuring out how to obviously empower other people, because when you're an assistant, you don't have to worry about as much of the empowerment side. You have to worry about yourself, right? What
100%.
you're doing, what everybody, your group's doing, what you're doing. If you're a coordinator within your group, as the head coach, you have to worry about, okay, well, what is he doing over there? And then if a coach says something to a player, and obviously you may not be there, and then you get wind of it, you're trying to figure out what's going on. But that's the beauty of it, though, at the same time.
And it was like, it was like the other day, it was a Monday after practice. My oldest son's a junior, and he's like, hey, how was practice? How'd everything go? I was like, I don't know. He's like, what do you mean you don't know? He's like, well, it's kind of weird because, like, I'm kind of overseeing the offense, and, we did some good stuff, but, we had too many drops. We weren't doing this right. This wasn't right. That defense is making plays. And I'm like, well, but I got to kind of be happy because the defense, It's weird. Like, you hold so many different hats as the head coach. You can't get too high or too low because it's like, okay, the defense is struggling one day. Well, the offense did some pretty good things. All right. So then what's the bright spot of the defense? What can you build on? How can you correct? And then if the defense did phenomenal, well, obviously the offense had to struggle because you're not playing another team. So where before I was like, coaching running backs, inside receivers, wherever. And it was like, it's self-preservation. I was just worried about my position, my room. We played well. I didn't care about anything else. And it's like, now as the head coach, you got to care about everything. Like, it's just like crazy to me, like figuring that out. And the great ones obviously figure it out way faster than the ones that aren't.
No doubt about it. What are some of the philosophy that you're trying to bring to the Caldwell College program, helping it to make the next step along the path? I mean, hiring someone like yourself, like that's like I would say a steal for Caldwell College, to be able to get a guy that's coached at such a high level like you have in so many places too as well. What are you trying to where are you trying to get them to? What kind of philosophies are you trying to instill in the players?
Yeah, you're also inheriting a program, right? That's coming from and Dave, I don't know, so I played for Coach Kelly, the previous head coach who retired, right? So I played for him at Montclair State. Older dude, great high school football coach, right? Kind of took this thing over, right? Had Coach Trimmer in there as well, who's another Caldwell legend guy. So you're kind of getting a program that's, the structure, I believe, right? And you can tell me if I'm wrong, is pretty much there, right? So they kind of know what to do, but you get to come in now and bring, I like to say the Matsakis vibe to it, right? Because it's just a different type of culture. So like Coach said, yeah, just touch on what you're going to bring to it or what you're looking to instill.
Yeah, and Coach Kelly, great guy. I talked to him a ton. He did a phenomenal job laying the foundation of this program.
Yep.
I mean, he took over. They had one coach, I don't really remember who it was, that started the program. Coach Kelly came in year 2. So he brought he did a great job building the roster.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
I mean, 2 years ago, they lost to Army 4-2 in 5 overtimes. That's crazy. Insane. So there's a certain foundation that was set. Now it's really just taking what I've learned at the various stops and how can we incorporate that here? For Kentucky defense, they're typically top 25 in the country every year. They're top half of the SEC. And the defense we had at Kentucky, they were tough, hard-nosed, physical defense, blue-collar work environment. 11 players playing as one team, and they created turnovers. They swarmed the football. That's what you see in Kentucky defenses, and that's what I want our defense to look like. Now, whether you're an odd front, even front, cover 3, cover 4, the details of it, I'm I don't really care, but I want to make sure we're physical in the run game. We're going to stop the run. We're going to create turnovers. And when they run, we better have 11 hats running to the football. That's what I want in a defense. That culture breeds success. The great defense, Georgia, phenomenal defenses. That's what they are. You watch them on film. 11 dudes running. If it's 10, the backside corner, you see him sprinting in the frame as they're panning away. So he's getting there. They're physical in the run game. They're hard hitters. They create turnovers. They're tough. That's what I want our defense to look like. And then, offensively, I really go back to a little bit of everywhere we've been successful. I mean, we were successful at Texas Tech on offense, and Coach Leech got playmakers the ball in space. We were successful at Kansas in 07, 08, 09. Those early years, we were no huddle, tempo, motion, shifts, personnel groups, 2 back, 1 tight end. Very next play, you're an empty lineup and quad, everything that was successful. And even at Kentucky, some of the success that we had at Kentucky when Will Levis was the quarterback, it was play action passes, different things. And Youngstown State, we were very successful with our offense at Youngstown State, and a lot of it was zone read option, power, counters, different things like that. And I think for me, offensively, it's creating that culture on offense that we can score in any moment, but being detailed in what we're supposed to do. All right. And if we are, and we improve every day, receivers catching hundreds of balls a day, linemen doing, the step of champions, working on footwork, you work ball security, quarterbacks working drops, we work ball handling, take snaps from under center, do the little details, we'll have success on the field.
There's no doubt about it. I think that bringing that high level of understanding of what it takes to succeed is going to be such a unique thing. So those other guys are known coaches at the high school level, but what you bring is that high level college experience, what it takes to get guys to an elite level. And I think that knowledge is rare. I mean, it's very, very rare to have that knowledge and to bring it to the sprint football world, I think is pretty amazing. And when you look at the schedule that you guys have, it's such a cool like array of like between, Army, Navy, UPenn, and then you have places that like what you would call like almost D3 schools, right? That are, and they all play it at a high level because of the weight limit. You could actually have success without having to be like at, a University of Kentucky or to have the problem. And I think that that's really cool because it's really its own set of an environment. And I think but that high level knowledge that you have, like to me, that experience of being around, not just obviously those head coaches, right, but the staffs that you're with, to be able to learn from all the different guys, form your own opinions on everything, and the ability to be around those type of people and around such high level players. Like you get to see what, a top player at Texas Tech did, and what a top player at Kentucky did, what a top player at Kansas did to get them from one level to a really high level. And sometimes, being a coach around that, watching individuals do that, those are things that you can now advise your own players on. Like, hey, I've seen so-and-so do this, and he went from being, a 2-star player to being an NFL player, right? And these are the things that he did that made difference. I just think that high level experience is so valuable from a knowledge standpoint, and seeing the different offenses, seeing the different defense. But fundamentally, you're 100% right. Like if you can run to the football and tackle well on defense, you have an opportunity to win every game. You really do. Like
we were just talking about it.
And I mean, I talked to all my buddies, and actually, I just remember like he was our linebackers coach at Kentucky, John Summerall. He's now the head coach at Tulane this year. He was at Troy for a few years, very successful, just got to Tulane. I remember sitting in his office when he was at Kentucky, and we're talking, and it's like he made the comment to me, he goes, people make football harder than it is. He's like, it comes down to essentially a few things. On defense, can you run to the football? Can you tackle with great technique? On offense, can you block? Can you catch and throw? That's it. Like, and if you're good at that, what you do doesn't really matter. You can be wing T, you can be air raid, you can be a 3-3-5 on defense, or you can be a money front, a 5-man, 5-1 box. It really doesn't matter what schemes you do, as long as, again, the defense, you're running to the football and you tackle. And on offense, you can block, you hold on to the football, and then if you throw, you can pitch and catch the ball. Like, and that's it. That's really what it comes down to, and people make it way harder than it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right. Get the ball in guys' hands that can move and do some things. Stop the guys that can move and do some things, and then you're in really great shape. But you're right. I always talk about this with football, and I'm curious your opinion on it, because obviously you've coached with some fantastic coach. You're a fantastic coach yourself. I always found that like sometimes football, and this is happening, I think, more with a lot of the younger coaches because they've been accelerated through the process, right? Like you know, guys now sometimes go into college as played in high school, go into college as a student coach, right? And by the time they come out of college, they're already guys that are ready to have regular coaching jobs. That really didn't happen 20, 25 years ago.
No.
That wasn't that was a rare thing, I should say. It was
Very.
a rare thing. Now that's becoming more and more the norm because of the money that's in college coaching. a guy could play high school football, go to a university and say, University of Georgia or University of Kentucky, and go as a student and say, hey, listen, I want to be on, I'd like to help out and volunteer on the staff and do whatever you need me to do. And 4 or 5 years later, they're coming out with 5 years of coaching experience without ever playing a down of college football, which there's a lot of that now. And you see a lot of the coaches who've been accelerated, even at the NFL, who are kind of in that mode of coming out younger. But I think that the drawback side of it is sometimes those guys only know what they've been taught, right? And they've only had that experience, and sometimes make the game harder than it is because of that, because of the knowledge, thinking, almost thinking they invented football because they've learned at a really young age, and it's not just about blocking and tackling, which, obviously most of football comes right down to in the end. Talk about what some of the trends in coaching are and how you have to kind of continue to adapt as a coach who's really starting to get into the prime of his coaching career. What are the kind of guys that you look to bring on board? Is it a mix? Is it more seasoned guys? What kind of things are you looking for in guys that are coaching with you?
Yeah, I think a lot of it, I think you need to have, especially at the collegiate level, you got to have a good mix of youth and experience. Like, you need younger coaches that can relate to this generation.
Right.
Because it's different.
Yes, it is.
I will literally leave my phone on my desk, go out to practice for 2 hours or so, and not worry about a thing. These kids literally show up, they're on their phones, checking whatever, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. Then we have a team meeting. Team meeting's done. I'm like, hey, you guys got 5 minutes. We're going to go to position meetings. They all run to their locker, check their phones. Then they go run to their position meetings. And, okay, you got 5 minutes. We're going to be on the field for walkthrough. They run to their locker, check their phones. They run off the field. First thing they do, check their phones. And they text you rather than, some of my players, I know they hate me right now. They'll text me. I purposely won't respond to their text.
Right.
And then the next day I'll see them. I'm like, hey, how's everything going? They're, coach, you get my text? I was like, yeah, but you come talk to me if you ever want anything. Like, I'm not communicating. I don't want to communicate like that unless it's an extreme emergency. Hey, coach, I'm on my way to practice. I just got in a wreck. Can't talk. Gonna be late. That's one thing. Yeah. Hey, coach, I'm wondering what's our schedule like next week? What do we got? Or the bye week? Come sit in my office, look face it. Let's have a conversation. And these kids they can't handle that. A lot of them. So having coaches, like one of our coaches I hired actually was one on the first ever sprint team here at Caldwell. He was one of the first. He actually scored the first ever touchdown in school history. All right.
Wow.
It's our
That's kind of cool.
coach.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, like, for me, having someone like that who was a student athlete here, who's been through the grind here at this university, because every school has their own issues, their own pluses. How do you maneuver certain things? Having a guy like him on our staff, to me, was huge. And he's young enough.
Yep.
He knows all the stuff. He's on TikTok. He's on Snapchat. He's on Instagram, Twitter. He's huge on social media. He can handle and he can connect to these kids, like a big brother. Then, you got a couple guys that are older, more seasoned, that are that father figure on the staff. And then there's always one or two guys that they're your bulldogs in recruiting. They can talk to anybody about anything, and parents just love them instantly within 90 seconds. And that's how I believe that's how you got to find the staff, however that fits. And that's what, Coach, Stoops at Kentucky, that's how our staff was. We had a great blend of younger guys that could connect with players. We had a group of dudes that could recruit their butt off, get anybody from anywhere. Then you had the older guys that were the X's and O's, kind of manager, make sure the day-to-day stuff's done. And it was awesome. And then, putting together guys like that is great. I do think, like you said, some dudes now literally graduate college or they're done playing, they try to get a role, and they instantly think I'm one of those full-time coaches and I need to have this responsibility.
I should be
And
calling plays.
they've never worked for free. My first 2 years at Texas Tech, I didn't get paid.
Right. I figured that. Right. I figured.
I mean, I lived in Manny's basement in Lubbock, had a room, so I didn't pay rent. My parents paid my cell phone bill because that's the first time I ever got a cell phone.
Yeah.
You know, so like they paid my cell phone bill for me, and my mom and dad, I was the baby. They still sent me a check. My dad wrote me a check, $200 every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I get it. That's what I lived on.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I got coffee.
And it actually came in the mail, guys. Like you didn't have to, like he didn't get
Oh,
it
it
within
wasn't
5
Venmo.
seconds of being sent. It,
No.
like like
They mailed me a check on Friday. I got it on Wednesday. I deposited on Thursday. I had access to it the next Monday. Like it was crazy.
Listen, I know Shady Side. My first experience in Shady Side was the first time they ever had a traffic light. That was my first time. Jimmy was all excited.
Like
He's like, "It's our first
one
traffic
ATM
light."
machine in Shady Side, Ohio. Like it's crazy.
That was
There's nothing, and these guys now don't have those experiences of, hey, the head coach calls you at 11 o'clock at night. He wants something. Yes, sir. Leave your house. Go get it for him. Or head coach is or Coach Leech. Hey, he's at the office. He's like, hey, I got to go run to this meeting with the president. Can you go to Starbucks? Get me a coffee really quick. Here's my credit card. Here's my keys. Yes, sir. Go. Whatever.
That's not this generation. It's not what they do.
And these kids don't. So you have to find ways to empower some of the young coaches, so they feel like they're higher than they are, but then again, hold them accountable to that high standard that you were when you were a younger coach, like our generation, like when you're making copies, getting coffee, doing laundry, like all the little things, and trying to do that with those coaches, I think is huge. And the ones that do that are the ones that end up having success.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You get guys like Lincoln Riley.
Right.
He was there with Leech early. He became Ruffin McNeil's OC at East Carolina. Then he's at Oklahoma. Bob retires. And now, I'm the head coach at Oklahoma making tons of money.
I think that's part of it, right? Like, I mean, Dave and I, we talk about it all the time, right? Like, I was the same way, right? Like when I came up, like, you know, like you kind of got to earn your stripes, right? Like, you know, I can remember my first year out of school, right? I'm working with Jimmy at Butler, and it's like, hey man, I don't really have like, you know, I was just willing to coach. Like, you're not like these guys now go in like, what am I getting paid? Like, that's not how this works, you know? Like, and by doing those little things and working my way up, that's where I learned, you know, hey man, we need 10 jerseys, make sure the jerseys are ready to go. Or, hey man, like I need, you know, can you fix this helmet for me real quick? Or, hey, this kid's got this. Like the X's and O's stuff, that stuff all comes like later, man. Like you got to earn it. And then by doing all of that, now it feels like, hey, you know, I'm looking for, if I have to go into it for a job interview, when they start asking questions like, oh, I've done that. Like it makes you a Swiss Army knife.
And it's like awesome that like all my coaches coach high school football.
Yes, they did.
Which is awesome because like literally it's like the day we passed out equipment, I had a kid. He's like, Coach, can I get a different face mask? I'm like, I don't know how to change a face mask.
Yeah,
no clue. I'm like, yeah, you can have one. I don't know how to do it. And literally one of our coaches is like, oh, Coach, I got you. It takes 2 seconds. He gets this little plastic tool, pop, puts on, pop. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I was the equipment guy at, you know, whatever, West Milford High School or whatever it was that it was.
Right.
I was this guy. I did that there. I can do that, Coach. That's easy. I'm like, great, because I have no clue how to do that.
You're like, wait, where's the equipment guy? Like, hey, buddy, like you're like, not anymore, running this ain't the SEC where you got 16 GAs that are equipment people. Like,
I know, and that's what's awesome. Like these dudes, like the 6 assistant coaches, there's no job too small for them. And I think it honestly goes back to them all being high school coaches.
Do they all coach high school football while they're coaching with you guys still? Or?
No, they all did.
They
so
like have, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Listen, Dave, I worked with 2 of them, and I played with another one of them. So
okay, cool, very cool.
Yeah, they're all. I mean, they all teach. I mean, 4 of the 5,
they're all pretty much teachers.
5 of the 6 teach. So they're all teaching right now. I'll get random phone calls, text. I'm like, aren't you teaching? He's like, oh, it's my planning period, but I got a question about this. Like, I was like, okay, cool. One of those things. But again, their experiences at the high school level helped me because at the high school level as a coach, I mean, you got to be the equipment manager. You got to be the trainer sometimes. You got to be the team doctor, the psychologist, the psychiatrist, the nutritionist, the strength coach. I'm like, before the first practice, I'm like, literally, we're sitting in a staff meeting. I'm like, okay, we're going to go out. We're going to walk through. From walkthrough, we're going to go to stretch. This is where we're going to line up. I know what I want it to look like. Who could run stretch? I've never done that in my life. And it's like, who can warm them up?
Listen, it's a great problem to have, my man. It's a great problem to have. But like you said, you have to take into account, right? Like building your staff and being a head coach and how you want to do it, right? Because some guys would have been like, hey, I need to run stretch. You tell me how to do it and I'll do it. Not, hey, who can do it? You go do it. Delegation, right? And that's something I've learned, obviously, as I've progressed in my coaching career is like, look, even if I'm the special teams guy, right, and that's my job and I'm the head coach of the special teams, well, I'm still delegating, right? Hey, you got the gunners, you got the ends. Like, I'm still doing all of that. But it's just, that's like what it is. But like now it's like I would have never done that. No way, hell, shape, or form. Like, look, if we're getting a punt block, it's because I didn't coach up the tight ends, right? And now as I've progressed, it just adds a better sense of, I think, even like with the kids, now they see, oh, wait, like there's not just one guy talking about special teams all the time. Like now it's, oh no, Coach Blackburn's going to get in my shit because he's literally coaching me. And for me, it allows each coach to feel a part of it as well. And then the kids just get more one-on-one coaching with it. So the delegation and all that stuff, like that's something that it's taken me a good amount of time to like figure out and go with it. Some guys still don't want to do it that way. I'm okay. Like, that's fine too. That's your way. This is my process.
And again, like when we had our staff meetings in August, getting ready for camp and practices, and I told them this is where we're lining up for stretch. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I had like one guy was like, oh, I could do that. I coach the throwers on the track team and I can warm them up. And the other guys, well, I'm the head track coach at this high school in the spring. Here, we could do this. And they sit there for 15 minutes and kind of said, this is a good active warm up we can do in less than 10 minutes to be prepared to play. And so they put it together and they run it. It looks like what I want it to look like. They're going to do it. And then we're sitting there. It's literally the second week of staff meetings. And Rob, our DC, goes, what are we doing with special teams? He just brings it up. He's like, are you running the kicking game? I mean, that's like your thing. You've done that. I'm like, nope. I'm like, no, you're going to do this. You're going to do this. I took the 6 units, divided it up among every coach has a unit. Awesome. And we met, and I'm like, here's the drills we're going to run. Here's the schemes that we're going to do. Run it. Go do it. I'll coach the returners. I'll coach the kicker. I'll coach the punter. But you're going to run the special teams, and you're going to be the special teams coordinator on game days, and you're going to do this. And I kind of just, divided it up, kind of took a little bit of everything and let them, all the assistant coaches, kind of have their hand in the pie, so to speak, and have a little bit of, authority. So now I'm not the only one sitting in front of the team talking. It's kickoff return day. Well, the coach that's in charge of kickoff return goes up and talks. Now they don't have to hear about me. Because that was one thing, Mark, like we had maybe 2 team meetings a week. And I'm like, why? And like Leech, we'd have maybe 1 a week. Like, but Coach Mangino, we had one every single day. Like every day.
But then you can look back at like their trees, right? And like where they came from. And you're talking about Mangino coming from a Bill Schneider tree. And you're talking about Leech, like creating one in the back of his car at Pepperdine or whatever he's doing.
Yeah. And then I remember talking to Stoops. I'm like, why don't we meet every day? He's like, because I don't want them getting sick of my voice.
Yeah.
He's like,
so now when I say something, it really hits home.
They're eventually going to tune me out, and then they're not going to listen on game day. He's like, I'll talk to him after the game. I'll talk to him before the game. I'll give a state of the union after practice. And the other guys talk. Special teams guy, get in front of the team, talk. DC, talk. OC, talk. Position coaches. And then that way on game day, those kids didn't tune out Mark. They listened. When he spoke, they felt it was important. Oh, head coach is talking. This is important, kind of thing. Where I've been places, we had team meetings every single day, and you're like hitting kids. They're falling asleep. They tune out the head coach. They ask you a question. Right. You're like, hey, we just covered this in the team meeting. Weren't you paying attention? He's like, I really wasn't listening. Because they just like eventually tune out the coach because they're tired of hearing his voice. So I think for me, splitting the kicking game up, one, alleviated that. And again, I took some of that from Kentucky. Like we don't have team meetings every day, because I'll talk after practice every day, but I don't want them to listen to me talk for the first 15, 20 minutes every single day. Listen to me talk the last 5 minutes after practice every single day. And then eventually on game day, they're just not going to listen. So
right.
I think that was important, like from both Leech and Stoops, that part of like the structure.
Yeah, I never thought about it like that. The especially maybe today's kid, they start to your voice just becomes drowned out after a while.
White noise.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it becomes white noise. Like Charlie Brown. Remember Charlie Brown? The parents.
Yep.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like
some of the younger generation might not know that. It only
sounded like that to young kids back in the day, but now it sounds like that to like young adults because that's part of the change culturally with all the noise that they have around them all the time.
Yep.
But very, very interesting. Well, we look forward to seeing how camp goes, and then obviously as you're just in the mix of it, the season starting, and we really wish you the very best. It's been fantastic having you on. I definitely want to when you get maybe, I don't know if you have time when you get a few weeks in, I'd love to talk more about your experiences. Since once you take hopefully there's lots of wins, so you're in a good mood. I know how that works as a coach, but the mood shifts with the wins and losses. But yeah, it's love to talk more, especially since you come from such big time football, and the shift into the type of football sprint football is. I'd love to hear the perspective as the season goes on. As you continue to work with your team, and I'm sure you're going to be learning from them as much as they're learning from you.
100%. And I mean, it's just, and it's just weird. It's like little things, but again, it's like I think they want to learn. They want to get better. They like the coaching. And it's little, like you mentioned earlier, Coach, like the fact that like I could draw on my experiences to give them examples. And I asked them one of the first meetings, I'm like, okay, we have Huddle. I don't know how to use Huddle because we didn't use it in the SEC other than recruiting. So that was a little different. But
you had Exos, right?
And that's all of these guys, and that's all these guys use, right? Like
so then I would ask these kids, and I'd be like, well, how many of you guys log on Huddle and watch practice and your game film? Raise your hands. And like 2 kids raised their hands. I'm like, okay. I'm like, what do you watch? Oh, we watch the games. I'm like, you guys don't watch practice? They're like, Coach, they don't film practice.
Never. Yeah. So you're like, what? Wait, what?
What? I was like, okay. So I go get 2 iPads. We got 2 interns. I'm like, you're the ground level guy for the O&D line. You're going to go stand out in center field and film sideline for us. And now we film practice. And then I'm like, so they're going to watch practice. And then I tell them, I'm like, the great players. I'm like, Will Levis, quarterback, Tennessee Titans. He spent 3 hours a day in the film room watching practice, watching the opponents. Josh Allen, first-round draft choice, defensive player of the year in college.
Right. Who nobody knew about, by the way. Who nobody knew about, and you got him at Kentucky. Nobody.
He would spend 3+ hours a day watching film on what the offensive tackle does. Does he tip off? Is it a run? Is it a pass? How's his pass sets? What can I do? They watched so much. They're film junkies. The great ones. Like they all are. And now, yesterday, logged on Huddle, and I love the fact Huddle tracks your viewing time, which one of the coaches showed me. Every kid, 30 minutes, hour. They're starting to watch film by giving those examples of like those elite level guys do. And you could see it on film, on practice film as well, how quickly we're improving from one day to the next. And it just goes back again, showing those examples, from past experiences.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Coach, thanks so much for coming on.
Anytime.
I learned a ton.
Listen, and this is also another option for our guys to like get to play college ball at the next level. Because
100%.
You're talking about, Dave, how many times do we have guys that it's like, look, man, like, I don't really know where you kind of fit into it. You're maybe a tweener, maybe you're a late bloomer coming up, whatever. Like, this is now a option to go play football. And if nothing less, you're getting coached at a very high level, and you're going out there and you're competing, man. So
we got
it's definitely
19
awesome.
seniors. We're going to bring in 20 kids in the class of 25. And like I told the kids that I recruited this year here, I'm like, this is a great opportunity because we're the only Division II school in New Jersey that offers football. No other. It's either Division I or D3.
Yep.
So you get that Division II resources. You got a weight room. You get academic support, priority enrollment. You get all the things D2 schools get. But you know what? We also get to play 4 Division I schools: Cornell, Penn, Army, Navy. So you get to play the big dogs. You get to play some D2. It's a great blend. And I'm like, it's awesome. When kids get here, they love it. They fall in love. And they have everything they need once they're here. It's just getting them here.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. We'll continue to spread the word on that. So there's no doubt. There's plenty of football players, obviously, in New Jersey and the Northeast that would fit in perfectly. I mean, it's a great spot from that standpoint. Coach, I can't thank you enough for coming on. And then good luck with the camp and good luck in your first game.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You, Coach. We'll talk soon, man.
Talk soon. Bye.
Right,
thank you.
Bye. That was awesome. That was really, really awesome. It's
I've been trying for a while, dude. I've been trying I wanted to get him on for so long because it's just another option, man. Like, and it's cool. It's really cool. I mean, I know your head's spinning.
He's such a high level coach. Like he's been at so many big time
sponge, man.
Knowledge he has as far as how to do things and the blend of different
He'll figure it out. He's just got to pick which ones he's going to use from who and how it all mixes in with the, like I said, I mean, I took that whole
football player. I know where I would go.
Right. Like, I mean, and look, maybe, who knows how it opens up a lot of doors. And like the other guys on his staff, like, I've worked with, I worked with two of them. I worked with 2 of them, like played with another one of them. Like, and like you said, like, how funny is it though? Like to think like, I can't fix a face mask or like, I don't know how to run warm up. It's like SEC problems, dude. Like, like he's used to other people doing that. Now he gets to kind of go do that. I think that was also some of like the appeal. Like, I think it's just like a right fit, right mix kind of situation where it's like, hey, we can really take this thing and like explode it. Because if you think about the area of where it is and the recruiting stuff like that, like D2 resources to just go play. And I love the weight thing is cool to me. It's like, like those guys that are wrestlers or high school players, like that stuff to me is like, that's like it's like a science project of keeping your weight and doing all that stuff. I think
no doubt about it. It's very, very, very cool. All right. Well, till next week.
Next week.
I think I have to go on something later on today. I don't know. I forgot what it is.
Yeah. Well, I got opening night tonight, so here we go.
Oh, you do good. The rivalry game. All right.
The school on the other side of town, man. The school on the other side of town.
I think we're gonna go up to the Giants has like a Giants Fest or something tonight.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, are they wearing the old uniforms this week?
I'm not.
Did you see the game last night? Did you stay up for it?
I did not. I heard it was a great game, though. I heard KC pulled it out. I heard Worthy had a run that was just like he was so fast.
Dave.
I heard he's so fast.
Dude, he put his foot in the ground at the 25, and I blinked, and he was in the end zone. Like,
but did you see the convoy out in front of him?
Did you like? And I just look.
He had so many blockers out there too.
Dude, everybody. It was like
Andy Reid's a genius. Yeah, I don't know how.
But I'm also like, I want to give kudos. Like, I knew Pacheco was like whatever coming out of Rutgers. That dude, dude, This might be overpraised, but the way he runs like he's like
Hard.
Walter Payton-ish. Like he runs like
Well,
Walter Payton, like tough, dude. Like
he
boom,
runs
like
stuff, pistons moving, like, you know,
and
like
he can he gets in the open field and he scoots, dude. He's gone.
he has that like
I want to say like Le'Veon Bell in his prime,
no,
like you know what I mean? Like he's got a
bigger.
mix of
He has like a turnover thing that's really like when he puts his foot in the ground. I don't know what his 40 is, but he able to get to like
yes, he gets fast
full
quick.
speed quickly. Like he might be. I don't know what his 40. I'm sure it was fast.
Which is probably why
he turns it over so quick though. He's able to get going.
Yes, like he goes from like 0 to 60.
Like absolutely flying.
And I'll tell you what, I bet you that tight end for the Ravens is going to be wearing all white cleats next week because that's what cost them. If he had all white cleats on, man, they might not have seen that toe at the end of the game. You'll see the highlight, dude. Like
I saw.
And Jackson missed the throw earlier, wide open, dude, in the back of the end zone, bro. He missed a couple throws.
What was he, offsides or something?
That was a whole nother thing about a tackle being in the backfield. And you know how I feel about that shit. Like, I played, spread accordion splits. Like, they called the tackle because his head wasn't, like, in the
waist area.
Questionable.
Interesting.
Kansas City, dude. Another year. Here we go.
No doubt. Well, they're going to – the quarterbacks –
Mahomes is a freak of nature, dude. Just is what it is. His first throw, he hit a slant. He threw it through dudes to get to him. Like, okay, here we go. But
his throwing ability is unbelievable. And he has – I don't know if he's fast, like running-wise, but he's very elusive.
He's smart with it.
He's elusive in the pocket, and he's
and he can make all those throws while being mobile, right?
Yeah, he can make you miss, and then he knows how to like turn his feet over to get some yards. Like he's not trying to outsprint you. He's just trying to turn his legs over fast so he can get some yards.
I'd love to see if that's something within their strength program because Pacheco does it. He does it. Like maybe it's something that they're being coached.
I don't think Mahomes is fast.
No, hell no. But he's
quick. He'll
go get you. Like he'll get you a first down. Like no doubt.
Yep. You know what I mean? Like if he had to keep going down the field, he probably would get tracked down immediately. But he for 5 yards, 6 yards, 8 yards, he's like boom, 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 boom. He gets to 5 yards.
Now you have to obviously account for that and play that. And then he can make all of those off balance one arm throws this way, that way across his body that most guys really can't do. So now when he sucks you up on the defense, boom, drops one over the top. I mean, and you're also talking about guys being on such a same page. The one route Travis Kelce ran last night to get open for a catch, it looked like we were out in the backyard, dude. Like, hey, go over there, go here. Like, I mean, my man was zigging, zagging, but they're just on the same page of hey, I'm going to end up here. So make sure this is where it's going to be. I don't know though. I think the Ravens still are going to be pretty solid team, hard to beat, dude. But the Chiefs, Andy Reid, literally should be talked about way more so than he even is talked about already. Because that guy's an absolute genius.
Genius, no doubt. All right, till next
time.
Go
get him.